Howdy, campers. Can you hear me okay, Jesse?
We can hear you, sir.
There you go, baby. There you go. All right. I'm going to give it just a minute here to let everybody hop on. Stephanie, Rob, Josh, I can see you guys there. Living the dream, right?
Living the dream.
Living the dream, baby.
Every day.
There you go.
Every
Rob,
day I'm hustling.
I'm going to look at your email you sent me with the script that you're using.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Every meal's a banquet and every day's a holiday, gentlemen.
There you go, man.
Love it. Love it.
I haven't heard that one before. I like it. Well, I'm going to see if we, I'm waiting for one person in particular, see if she shows up. Somebody I just talked to from Florida. Looks like we got a little bit of a crew here, which is great. Jim, how you doing? Helen, how are you? Good to see you guys.
Thank you. I'm great.
Awesome. I missed John's call. How was it?
I was multitasking and listening in the background while prospecting. So I'd say it was good.
Well, that's good. You did a lot better than I did. I couldn't multitask enough to get to that one. So.
Oh, he got everybody's energy up with his affirmations, everybody on the call screaming and jumping around. So
there you go.
Now you're going to have to keep up. You're going to get
I'm not going to do any affirmations. I just slap myself in the face a few times and bang my head against the wall, and that seems to do the trick. So That's my recommendation. If you're falling asleep and you can't get motivated, I just look at my bank account. If there's not 6 figures or something in there, I got to do more. I got to make some money.
I have 6 figures in my bank account if you count the cents.
Well, then you got more than I do. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for showing up today. We're going to talk about something that I know everybody really loves to talk about, and that's numbers, tracking your numbers. So Jesse, why don't you start us off and get us rolling here?
Let me see here. Let me share my
Jesse's the guy that I call, honestly, if I am like completely depressed and ready to quit and down in the dumps, which happens about, once a week, I usually call Jesse, and he's always got an upbeat,
where's my share button?
Happy personality and attitude, and he always gets me jacked up.
Bam!
Back on track. So he's the man. If you ever need help with that, call Jesse.
All righty. Oh, hold on. I flipped that around. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
So while Jesse's doing that, I just want to say a couple things about tracking your numbers. I have been doing this for since 2014. Let me grab my numbers here real quick. I carry them around with me. So
I don't know what's going on there.
I'm not a numbers person. I'm a driver personality. I just want to get on the phone, make the calls, get it over with, and get the calls done as quickly as possible. But I did, when I got into coaching in 2014, I guess it was, I started using the number track. I started tracking my numbers pretty much from day one. And I realized that was one of the things that was a major, major contributor to me being able to take things to the next level. And the further along that I got, the more I realized how important that was, and actually became one of the main motivators and main things that drove me on a daily basis. I know it may sound crazy or weird or whatever, but it's honestly true. Why is that? I'm not analytical. I'm more of a just, go and get it done and, move on to the next thing. but there's a motivating factor when it comes to tracking the numbers and just seeing that on the daily tracker, not only the one that I use every day, you know, hour by hour tracking my calls, but at the end of the day, when I put the numbers in the analyzer and then I look at it throughout the week, I can see my progress. I can, you know, I set a goal and then I track what I'm doing, and I can pretty easily tell if I'm on track or if I'm not by those numbers. And if I get behind, I know what I have to do to catch up. If I'm ahead, I feel great. So, you know, having the knowledge of knowing that, you know, after tracking my numbers for so long, I can feel confident that I know the outcome based on the numbers. So I know that if I follow my daily schedule and make X number of calls, the outcome is guaranteed. So it's up to me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. And those numbers tell the whole tale and they keep me motivated. So let's talk about a little bit more about that. Jesse, why don't you go to the next slide? What do you feel about the numbers, Jesse? Talk to me, baby.
So I would say, I mean, and I was thinking about this earlier today, if there was one number you could track, now there's a lot of them to track, but if there was one number you could track that would help you really grow your business and develop your skills and make more money, I would say that number one number to track would be contacts every day.
Yep.
If you track no other number, because it's activity based, you can control it, right? I know I used to get frustrated. My coach would be like, did you set an appointment today? And did you take a listing? And did you close a deal? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Maybe, you know, maybe I went on 2 or 3 days where I didn't set an appointment or I didn't close a deal, but I could control the number of contacts I made because that's up to me. So, yeah, so I say tracking your contacts every single day and who you're talking to and having real estate conversations with, that is like the number one critical thing, but there's a lot more.
Absolutely. And Jesse, I agree with you 100%. At the end of the day, every day, it's the most important thing that I write down is the number of contacts, how many people I'm talking to. And I don't know if we've talked about this before, but what do I consider a contact? I consider a contact somebody that I have not just answered the phone and you know, said something to, but I have to ask them at least 2 questions. They either, and I have to feel comfortable that they are a buyer or a seller and that they are, you know, able to buy or sell a house, that they understood me. So there's certain criteria. I want to make sure that it's legitimate because I have to be true to myself. And some people count every contact. If they just talk to somebody, that's okay. If you do that, like if you're counting anybody that just answers the phone, I'd add about 5 or 10% to your numbers, to your contacts to be able to produce the results that we know work or the numbers that we know are viable. So every day, let's see here, contacts. So the numbers that we track, I track my number of calls that I make, people that I talk to, that's my contacts. On average from 2014 through 2018, I averaged I think I averaged 30 to 31 contacts per day. And, you know, that results in approximately 65 homes sold. Okay. So with the contacts on a daily basis, I also track how many appointments that I set and then how many of those I attended. All right. If I take a listing that day, I will write down the number of listings I took. You can also, and those 3 are the most important ones right there. Let's see here, database. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And Steve, I didn't put all of them on here, just
right.
FYI. We'll go through that in a little bit, you guys.
If you're working with buyers more than you are sellers, first of all, you should definitely try to get more sellers and work with, you know, listing property. But if you're working with a lot of buyers, you're doing a lot of open houses, you got to track the number of open houses, the number of people that you're talking to at the open house. I would count everybody that walked in there as a contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can actually follow up with them if you put them in a database, like the KV Core Open House app and all that. Those are more contacts if you follow up and have a deeper conversation with them the next day or the next week.
So Helen, I know that you follow John and everybody else, and this is exactly the same thing that John does. John and Jesse and I are, we were all in the same mastermind group. We were all coached by the same coaches. This is the same process that everybody that we know uses. So why don't you go to the next screen or two, Jesse, here.
So Lad, why numbers? I mean, right now, especially interesting times, right? Because there's people talking about, they're throwing numbers out every day. People are talking about how many people are getting sick, and people are talking about, employment, people are talking about businesses, investments, and all this stuff. Tracking numbers tells a story. It tells you something. They don't lie at the end of the day. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to track numbers. Steve, I know you mentioned some of them at the beginning of the call, but why else?
Well, what I learned from my coach, I used to ask the same thing, like, why are we tracking these numbers, and what's the real purpose of that? Well, some of the things I already talked about, but a couple of other key things as to why we track the numbers. They do tell a story. And what my coach would do with me is we would look at things either weekly or monthly, and the numbers would tell a story. So, for example, we already know how many contacts it should take to set an appointment. We already know how many contacts it should take before we take a listing. We already know how many what percentage of the listing appointments we go on should be converted to listings, and some other numbers that we know. So at the end of the month, we would go over all the numbers for the month. That would tell a story. If he saw that I was going on 20 listing appointments and I only took 5 listings, that means that there's an issue there, and we can easily identify what that issue is. It's one of 2 or 3 things. It's either that I'm not going out on qualified listing appointments. There's a qualifying process before I get in my car, drive a half hour there, spend an hour there, another half hour on the way back, prepare. Before I spend half a day going on a listing appointment, I've learned that I can take 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes. I can take 10 minutes, pre-qualify the listing appointment, ask them a series of questions, which we have for you. We have that in the website.
Yep.
To pre-qualify them to make sure that they are somebody that we want to work with, that we can work with them, that they have equity in their house, that there's motivation, that the price is, somewhat close to where we want to list it at before we go on the appointment. If we do that 100% of the time, we found that our ratios go up by about 50%, I would say.
So you guys hear what Steve's saying right now? It's really powerful. If you track your numbers, you now know where to improve your business. Like, that's so so incredibly important to
it is
identify, oh, I just need to make a tweak over here. If I get my average sales price up a little bit, or if I practice my scripts a little bit, like, it helps you become a better business person, a better salesperson, just by tracking your numbers. And like,
it helps you dial things in. So another example is if I'm making 500 calls during the month and I went on 2 appointments, there's a problem there. We know how many calls it should take. So what's the problem? It could either be the quality or who you're calling, like who are you calling? So as a coach, we look at that and we say, okay, well, you made 500 contacts and you went on 2 listing appointments and you have 1 buyer lead. First thing I would say is, well, who are you calling? Where are you getting the numbers from? And I guarantee what we would find out is they're counting a contact as a dial or something. They're just dialing numbers, and everybody they dial, they're counting as a contact. Or if they're calling the right people legitimately and they have good numbers and they're actually talking to 500 people, it's probably an issue with the scripts or the way that they're talking to the people on the phone. So therefore, we would work on role play or scripts and try to improve that part of the process. So we can look at the numbers if you track them. If you guys, we have a tracker that we're going to give you. If you want to track your numbers on a monthly basis, and then at the end of the month, come to me and we can review that, I'm pretty sure that I can narrow down exactly, what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, what you can do to improve and change to get you, you know, where you need to be. So those are just a few reasons and a few things that are absolutely 100% important about tracking your numbers.
Guys, can I ask a question regarding the contacts and the numbers piece there, if for tracking purposes?
Yes, why don't you, let's do that at the very end of the call.
Okay.
We'll be done here just a minute, and then, yeah, we can definitely go over that, Rob.
Okay.
All right, so let's just show real quick, Jesse, the two types of tracking, or how we, you know, how we do this. Go to the daily tracker.
Okay, so real quick, guys, in the membership area, there is a daily prospecting tracker. This is under tools. So if you go under tools, there is a daily prospecting tracker, and then there's also a monthly business tracker. What do those look like? So the daily contacts tracker is this right here, which I we'll go over real quick. And then the business monthly tracker, it's kind of more of an all-encompassing.
That's not the one we're going to use. I think Pushkar sent you the new one, Jesse.
Yeah, I have this one right here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so right now that's what's in there. We're going to add another one in there for you guys.
So for the purposes of what I use real world right now is this one. This is what I use every day. So I go to my printer, I print out 30 of these, and that lasts me about a month and a half or more. It's 2 pages. You can print it out on 1 page, front and back. I look at this before I get on the phone. I date it. This is all, it's all pertinent stuff. I'm not wasting my time. I don't like to waste time. So I date it. Why? Because I don't know if you can see this, but this is my file. This is like every single day I put this back in a file, okay? So I can look at this and I can see, let's say next month I don't have any closings. Well, I can pull out those trackers, and I guarantee you the reason I don't have any closings is because I haven't been doing the prospecting. And my numbers will be, you know, I'll have 5 or 6 days where I've done like 10 calls or something. It always comes to fruition. So I take this every day. I write down the date. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. I write down everything on here. Go up a little bit, Jesse. Up the other way. I'm sorry. 3 things I'm grateful for. My goals for today, what would make today amazing? Just about every day I put hitting my contact goal. Okay. There's 3, I try to write down 3 things there. I write down daily affirmations. I'm a great listing agent. Whatever it is, you know, I'm a powerful prospector. I'm relentless. Whatever I want to put down that makes me feel good. Today's to-dos and time blocking. Sometimes I write that in there, but usually it's just, you know, 8 to 12, 30 contacts, and then 12 to 1, whatever. Usually I'm making agent calls. So that's side 1. Side 2, also date side 2 because you might forget to do side 1. So this has 2 sets of contacts. It's got contacts, which is the prospecting contacts for deals. I also have on here agent attraction contacts. Those are agents that I'm talking to. And then notes at the very bottom. And I always have this filled in. So what happens is I do have a daily list of to-dos. I put that to the side, and I just put this on my desk, only the tracker, because what happens is as I'm making the calls, and you'll find out it gets mundane and boring, stuff's going to jump in your head that you have to do, like super important things that you don't know if are on your list. Just write them in your notes. Okay. It's a good place just to dump stuff on there. And another thing is with the notes is if I'm talking to somebody and I'm having a long conversation with them and it's important information, you can put like, you know, number 4 down there. And then I write notes about what I'm talking about. So that way I can reference that. Now, the reason that I have a little bit of a line there after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is because as you're doing this, you'll find, I do at least, I sometimes maybe forget to mark down that I made a contact, or I forget where I was, you know, in the process. Like I might talk to somebody and then not to talk to somebody for 10 minutes. And I always write down the name or the address in that line just to remind me of who was the last person I talked to. It was Jane. I put Jane there. That way, if I'm talking to Bill 10 minutes later, I can look back and I know I haven't written Bill down yet. So it's just a little bit more space to write. That's the daily tracker.
So what are you putting on there, Steve? You're putting follow-up and your prospecting calls.
Yes,
correct?
I am. Yes, that's a good question.
Okay.
Some coaches or some people say don't put your follow-ups on there. I have found that if I didn't put my follow-up calls on there, and I have follow-up calls every day, that it would mess my mindset up, because let's say I had 20 calls, or my daily contact goal was 30, and I made 22 contacts, and it was kind of getting late in the day, you know, whatever happened, I wasn't able to make them all in the morning. And then I would scramble and try to make those last 8 contacts. And you'll find that if you wait until the afternoon or later in the day, it becomes exponentially harder to do, because everything's being thrown at you later in the day. So sometimes I would barely get those done. And then I realized I haven't made my follow-up calls yet. 70% of all of our deals come in the follow-up.
Amen to that.
70% of all the deals that I've done in the last 6 or 7 years have been with a follow-up call. 70%. So you have to make the follow-ups. It's just as important as more important than a contact, in my opinion. So put those in your contacts as well. Once you fill this out, at the end of the day, then we go to the other sheet. And real simply, let's say it's January 1st. Jesse, I made 25 contacts for the day. I talked to 5 agents. 0, I didn't meet with any agents. That could be a Zoom call or whatever. I didn't have any agents join. We're going to give you guys the same thing. I had 2 listing appointments. I took 1 listing. Buyer sales, I didn't have any. And 1 listing sold. And 1 deal closed. And the GCI was $8,000. All right, so you put those numbers in every single day. Go down to the bottom, Jesse. All right. So I've already put in my goals in here for the month. And what this does, and we can thank Pushkar for making this up for us. We're always kind of tweaking it. Yeah, this is a great job, Pushkar. I like to visually see this, the little bar graphs or whatever you call it. It looks cool. It's, makes me feel good inside, nice and warm inside when I see those little bars going up. But this is a visual representation of, what the hell's going on for the month. And it helps. It really, really helps my mindset to try to, keep this on track. So you can see that I put the output. How many contacts per day? 25. Just scroll over that, Jesse. And the target for the month is over to the right, 25 and 600. That's the daily that I did, and that's the target, 600 for the month. So every day it'll add more to the output, I think, or no, the target. Yeah, the target bar chart to the right.
Okay.
So it basically gives you a visual representation of where you're at with your daily goals for the month.
That's really good. And yeah, okay. So, and then there's also a yearly on here, right?
There is, I believe, yes. And if we don't have that in there yet, we will have that very soon. But yeah, it's going to give you your yearly numbers all added up. So, every quarter you can look at it and see where you're at. And I can help you guys go over this. I would suggest you get at least 2 weeks or a month of information in there before you start looking at it, because it's all about consistency. It's all about consistency. That's the main thing. All right. So are there any questions right now?
Yeah, I do. So I don't have them a month, but I do have, 2 solid weeks. This is Jim Zigmont. Solid weeks of data, just like the stuff you're plugging in, sans the commission checks. So, I would like to take advantage of that. Let's say in 2 weeks, to show, hey, this is what I've done. This is how many real contacts I've made. I have a question on the contacts.
Yep.
Jesse or Steve. And then, I can be that guinea pig, if you will. But I'm finding, just for the benefit of the group, I'm finding what you guys are saying and what I'm reading is actually true. I didn't think it would be. I just had to prove it to myself, And you know, the more calls you make, and I don't have the numbers Steve or Jesse is making or anything like that, but there is a correlation to success relative to getting someone on the phone and interested. So, question about the contact. So let's say I make a contact, and within my contact base, and the lady, like, I guess an example, I talked to a lady yesterday. I couldn't understand a word she was saying, not one word. She was Asian, and it was very broken English. You know, I just thanked her for her time. That's not a contact, right? I mean, I didn't get anywhere with her.
If you didn't understand what she was saying and she
Not a
wasn't
word.
understanding you, I would not count it as a contact.
Okay. All right.
I run into that quite a bit, and if they speak Spanish, we have somebody you can refer that to, and if they're speak Chinese, we have somebody you can refer that to as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're hustling and you don't want to waste a call, you can always just take their number down and pass it along and get a referral if it closes. You never know. It happens all the time.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it should be a meaningful real estate related conversation with a decision maker, like a kid that answers the phone. That they may live there, but if it's not a meaningful real estate conversation,
and don't overthink it either, Jim. You just gotta make the effort, and if you're counting those, it's not gonna be like a career ender or something. It's not gonna be a deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't count it, but I just I moved on. This whole mindset thing is really appealing to me. And then additionally, once you build some momentum, what I've noticed is, I do have a tendency to say, well, lady, like yesterday, a lady says, well, I'm working with a realtor, her own words, she sucks. I don't want to deal with her anymore. Can you help me? Yes. I'm looking in Naperville, 200 grand. I said, sure, I can send you stuff. So I immediately want to go to MLS and, send her stuff. Right. So I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to wait. Yeah.
Yeah, let me interject real quick if you don't mind. You're right on, Jim. So let me give you the example of this. This is a great example. With my other coaching program, we would go to these prospecting clinics. I used to go about 2 to 3 times a year in Las Vegas with the coaching program group. Jesse would do the same thing. And we would be in a room with 100 other agents, 50, 75, 100 other agents, all making phone calls, standing right next to each other, calling, expired, cancel, whatever, making the phone calls, okay? The main goal that we were taught was to set an appointment, all right? Whether it's a buyer, seller, or whatever, to set an appointment with a buyer or seller, basically. So they trained us to do that. And there was like a competition. You're around another, 50, 75 people. If John and I and Jesse are in the same room and we're all making phone calls, we want to win. We're competitive. We want to be the one that gets the most appointments. So your goal was just to set appointments. You couldn't really fudge it because the coaches are walking around listening in and so forth. So we learned very quickly by doing that. All you got to do is set the appointment, set as many as you can during that 2 to 3 hours, however long you're prospecting. And at the prospecting clinic, we would do it all day. But if you broke it down, it was really only about 4.5 hours because they would have breaks and we would talk about what we're doing, yada, yada, yada. But it was amazing to see how many, it's kind of like going to a Tony Robbins event. Until you go to one of those, you don't realize how much energy you really have to spend. Like, you don't realize how far you can push yourself. And it was amazing. I would go to one of those, and in one day, I would set 8 to 10 appointments. Sometimes I don't set 8 or 10 appointments all month when I'm by myself. But when I'm in that atmosphere, I'm setting a lot more appointments. And we learned you set the appointment, and then at the end of the day or first thing in the morning or the next day, you decide which ones you're going on, okay? So you set 10 appointments and you're gonna find out that only three of them are qualified. But at that point, you have the ability to just say no and not go in the appointment. So I guess my point is, if you're we never would stop and start to look up properties and see if the appointment's qualified until we're done with the prospecting. Then there's time for that. That's why you time block the morning for prospecting and the afternoon for all that other BS. Because chances are it's probably not a deal, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. All right. Good advice. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, crap. I kind of forgot what I was going to ask.
I'm
but
sorry, man. You were going to ask about you were going to ask about the who do you call or contacts or.
Yeah,
probably-
no, okay. So within the contacts themselves, right? So within the tracking of the contacts, are you tracking? You get a contact and you get the contact's email, phone number. You get multiple ways to contact that contact, right? Are you hitting them up on email and a phone call and everything, sending information to them once in an email, and then your follow-up is how many days later via phone? Or can you peel back the onion a little bit on the one contact with multiple ways to contact?
Yes.
Good question.
Great question. And yeah, okay. First of all, it depends on who you're who the contact is. If it's a database contact, and let's just review that again. Database would be somebody that you've worked with before, that knows you, that you've had an interaction with before, either on a personal or professional level. It's not just a random lead, okay? If it's somebody in your database, hypothetically, you're already in contact with them quarterly, and if they want something from you, in other words, they say, hey, we're thinking about putting our house on the market or whatever, you're going to automatically go into service mode. Okay. So somebody like that, at the end, after you're done with your prospecting, you're going to start getting stuff to them instantly, as far as like, you've set an appointment, you're going to do the research, you're going to go out on the appointment, or you're going to follow up with them immediately. If it's just a random prospect, which is 70% of what I do or have done, it's an expired listing or a FSBO or whatever, you already have their phone number because that's how you've contacted them, number one. You want to try to get an email address. Yes, that's great. But I don't have an email address for every one of the people that I've converted, but eventually you're going to get that. So what's the follow-up process look like? If it's an expired listing and they say, yes, we're planning on relisting the property, but we're not going to do it until mid-May because the COVID situation. So give me a call, the first week in May, and we can, maybe sign up an appointment. What would I do? It's April 8th. I would, if they say call me May 8th, I would call them in 2 weeks. So I would automatically put that in my calendar as I'm talking to them to call them on the 22nd. All right. I would also, if you want to do this the right way and the best way, I would also get their email address, and I would send out what's called a pre-listing packet or just an introductory email to them right after I get done with my prospecting in the afternoon. So on my little daily sheet, I have a highlighter at my desk, and I highlight anybody that I need to do something with as I'm writing it down, okay? So on the contact thing, number 3 is somebody that I need to send out an email to or whatever. I will highlight that so I don't forget about it after I get done with my prospecting. But anytime somebody says follow up with me in a month, you cut it in half or less. If they say 6 months, you call them in 2 months or 3 months at the most. Always cut it in half. Why? Trust me, just do it, because they will probably do something a lot sooner than they say, and it's usually halfway through or sooner. So reach out to them by phone in half the time that they say. Email them initially within 24 to 48 hours. And depending on how strong of a lead it is, you could follow up with them, once a week if you want. But you know, you're going to find out real quick, people don't really respond to emails that much. It's good to get that initial one out, but you want to always follow up on the phone.
Yeah, if they're
You
not
don't have to
responding,
overthink it though.
you can definitely try multiple channels, but yeah, I mean, you can even message. I know some agents, they message people on LinkedIn and Facebook Messenger, and they're like, I'm going to get a hold of this person. If you're at that point, sure. But initially, I would just what Steve said.
So to recap, initially fire out an email, and then follow up on that email via telephone or text. Hey, I'm following up on the email I sent you last night.
I just want to make sure you got the email I sent, the information I sent over via email.
Got it.
Let them make you answer. Always ask them to, would it be okay if what would be the best email address to send you some market information? Make sure you get it from them and not something that you have in your lead generator or whatever, because it's not always correct.
Got it.
And I ask them if this is their cell phone too, because I do text a lot of people. They say, well, why don't you text me some information and I'll send them over, you know, just, you know, my name and information real quick in the company I work for. But no, look, keep this in mind. I've never lost a deal, nor have I heard of anyone losing a deal because they followed up too much. Does that make sense? Nobody's going to tell you, leave me alone, you're following up too much.
Yeah, never happens.
So just do it and follow up with them, you know, once a week.
One of the most effective follow-ups, if someone hasn't been responsive, one of the most effective follow-ups is it's called the nine word follow-up. You can send it in a text message, an email, and the point is to keep it simple. A lot of times we want to follow up and try to resell them. Don't do that. Just if it's somebody that hasn't been responding for like 2 weeks, just send a note. Are you still looking to move to Florida? Are you still looking to sell your house? And leave it at that. Don't say because and the market's changing and try to just really short and simple. This is one of the best follow-up messages ever across the board. I don't care who it is. Send them that message, text message. Are you still looking to sell your house? Are you still looking to move to Jacksonville? That's it.
And if anybody's stuck on the, you know, a great app for texting people and keeping things organized just for text messages is Reach. I pay like $5 a month for that, and it will allow you to put write a template message and send it out to a group of people. And you can put in there like, you know, March leads or March follow-ups, and you can have, you know, the first time you send out to a group, it'll save that group. So the next time you can send out again, you can just send out the same thing. Are you still planning on selling your house in the next couple months? It'll say, John, are you still planning on selling your house in the next couple of months? I just wanted to check in. Steve Merritt, eXp Realty. And it'll send the same thing out to everybody with their name on it.
That's
So
the app, you guys.
Trick. Yep.
Reach.
Is everybody, Jim, where are you getting your, Jim and Rob, where are you getting your numbers from, phone numbers, and who are you calling?
So what my reference was that MLS, the military MLS from AHRN. So when I'm getting I got no lie, which is crazy because the military is on a 2-month freeze for move right now, but I got 2 AHRN notifications today, and I followed up initially with email, you know, hello, first name, you know, noticed that you were wanting to move to the San Antonio, Texas area through the military. I'm here to assist you in any way, shape, or form. I'm just paraphrasing, you know, I had about 2 paragraphs in the email. Looking to work with you very, you know, sometime soon, and please contact me, you know, at your soonest that way. Then, so that was my email, boom. And so my point is, okay, now that I've sent them that, you know, 2 days later from now, 1 day later, you know, am I calling and texting, hey, sent you said email, noticed that you were in AHRN MLS looking for properties in the San Antonio area, just following up, kind of like Jesse said, keep it in a 9-word real quick. Still looking for properties in San Antonio to buy or rent? Question mark.
Yep.
Okay.
That's exactly what you should do. And did you say that you've already had a conversation with them, or you haven't?
I have not. No,
Okay.
it's been an initial email, and then the ones that have already occurred, like last week or something. I did do a text follow up with them a couple days later. Hey, just following up on the email I sent you. Are you still looking? And I understand, like I said, it's the military is in a freeze right now. So I'm sure that they're just kind of prospecting and projecting when they are allowed to move. They're probably just going out there and just playing around. So I'm going to continue to keep the ones that I've already received as contacts. And once I hear that the green light's turned back on, boom, I'm going to be hitting those guys again.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I have no doubt that you will too, man. That's exactly what you have to do. I mean, you might be the only one that's reaching out to them, and who's going to be at the top of their mind when they decide to do something? It's going to be you. So you can never over contact a lead. Okay, a follow up. You just can't.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Either they just won't answer their phone,
Or they'll tell you to leave them alone. And I've had people do that. I've had agents do that to me. It happens every day, but that's part of the deal. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Totally. All right, Jim, anything else, Rob?
No, I like this though. I like like I said, just the peel back of, the onion here from the contacts and how you guys actually approach each one. My initial going in here when you said you were going to be talking about this was, what's the first line that you hit them with? Boom. What's the second follow-up you hit them with? And kind of being able to monitor and track that. Okay, I sent you an email. Now I've sent you a text. Now I'll call you, go from there.
Yeah, you just get them, you get them into a conversation, build up a rapport, let them know that you're actively working right now, and that's all you can really do until they're ready to make a move. And then, then you go into DEFCON 4 or whatever.
You know what? Next week too, I'm going to do another tech/marketing training. We'll go over that. We'll go over something called the 10 days of pain. And it's a follow-up sequence that you can use for phone, text, email, kind of a combination. So we'll do that next week.
Jim, what do you got, baby? I was wondering about your contacts, who you're calling.
Well, I've got a fair amount of contacts, and I've been, just banging out the. I'm trying to hit my goals. They're.
Who are you calling though? Like database, friends, family.
A database. Yeah. Yeah, my entire database. I devote about 80% of my time to net new calls to people I haven't talked to.
Okay.
20% to people that I here in town do business with and reach out to various vendors and so on and so forth. And I've had some success with having some meaningful conversations. So the scripts really help me. I have them in front of me when I'm talking to people. I embellish a little bit and kind of
make them your own. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's where I'm heading with it. I mean, but I don't have, I don't have, and this is, the way the world is today. I don't have those listing appointments that frankly, I'm getting.
Jim, don't beat yourself up. I don't either. I don't have a lot right now either. People are not.
They don't want you
in the mood to meet. Okay. I mean, It's okay. Just look at this, guys, as practice. And it's just like, just like Rob knows, you guys you may prepare your entire military career and never go to war. But if you're not prepared, you can get your ass run over. That's what's going to happen 30, 60 days from now, if you got, if I'm not prepared and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now, the market's gonna pop again. All right. And if I don't have people to follow up with and set listing appointments when they're ready to set the appointments, they're going to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
If I'm not keeping in touch with those people, they're going to find somebody else to buy a house with. But if I'm doing the grunt work and I'm doing the preparation and calling and contacting these people right now, between now and the next 2-3 weeks, it's going to make a world of difference coming out of the gate when things open up again. So you're doing exactly what you got to be doing, man. That's perfect.
And can I ask one technical question, or Jesse, I can maybe email you later. I don't want to take up any more time
Go ahead.
So I'm in love with this KV Core thing. I learned so much over the last 2 weeks, and there's this thing called the smart number, right, Jesse?
Mm-hmm.
And so I call, my contact through KV Core. It essentially calls me back, and then we almost do like a 3-way conversation with the customer at that point. But that customer is seeing the smart number. So if I always leave my number, my number here in Chicago, but that smart number says something else. So I was told through support that I need to buy that number. So frankly, guys like, Steve doesn't get it or Robert doesn't get it because it rolls over to the next available agent, right? If they don't pick up. So that's what I was told. And that kind of freaked me out because should I do that? I mean,
that doesn't sound.
No, nobody else is getting that. That smart number is dedicated to you and you only.
Okay.
So you're talking about the, and I don't know as much about this. I don't know if Jesse does either, but you're talking about did they give you a number that's through, what's the name of the provider?
No, you have to buy it. That's it. It goes, so if I called you, Steve, and you know my number, it may show up as an 847 number. It may show up as a 773. It may show up as a California number, so that's one right now. So I just want to be sure that when I call, I say, I always leave my number, my real phone number, my cell number, but they may look at it, some guy from 847 area code called, I'll just call this. I'm told through support that'll roll over if I don't pick up.
See, I haven't heard that,
Okay.
but I'll double check. I put a note. I'll look into that. And I'll connect with you on that, Jim.
Yeah, I'm not hung up on it because I always use my cell phone anyway. But
okay, I'll look at it. It doesn't sound.
Are you, Jim? Are you talking about when you go into the KV Core platform and then dial through there?
Yeah, it's like an auto dialer, Steve. It'll tee stuff up for me, and I can also record conversations. I'm really picky about details, what people say to me, so I can figure out really quick if they're lying to me. And so I like the convenience of that. But frankly, I don't want to pay $30 a month if I don't have to. I mean, I will.
I'm pretty sure that the way that works is I have it set up if I use KV Core that I call through KV Core and my number shows up on the other end. But if they call it, there's a number that they call in, that one is captured by KV Core, like the one you can put on your marketing materials. Yeah. Pushcar may know more about that too, but I will tell you this. If Jesse or Pushcar cannot answer that question directly or figure that out for you, there's a couple avenues, a couple people in the group that we can get that answer for you because this has been asked a million times.
Yeah, again, I'm not hung up on it, and support's usually generally very, very good. They are good.
KV Core?
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
They are.
And but this one thing is it's not like putting concrete with this one number. It's freaking me out because man, I'm making sometimes 20, 25 calls a day, and if they're not getting my right number, then what? That's not good. So
last suggestion on that, Jim. If any of you guys are not utilizing Workplace, I know there's a lot of avenues and a lot of directions you can go here with EXP, but really Workplace is the best resource for agent to agent questions.
Yeah.
And if you go in there and go to the KV Core, like the KV Core page or whatever it is, and you ask that question, you'll probably get 5 or 6 responses, and if not all of them, 1 or 2 of them will give you the answer you're looking for, because there's 28,000 agents at EXP, and there's probably 5,000 in that KB core group, and they all have the same issues or, you know, solutions basically.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. Look, click on that, Jesse. See how many people are in that group.
Oops, what did I click? 19,000 people.
Post it in there, and you're going to get more answers than you ever can get, but you'll get the answer, because it's a good one, and I want you to get the right answer on that.
Okay, I will. Just thought it. Again, not hung up on it. It's not holding me back. Just I'll get to the bottom of it. So.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Jim,
Also,
I'm going to contact you outside of the call too. Go ahead, Jesse.
Also, if you guys want to, we created a Facebook group too. You can go to Extreme Agents VIP, click on this. You can join a Facebook group. Steve and I are going to be going live and talking about different topics in there as well, different from these calls. So if you guys want to join that group, you can join on Facebook.
Great.
And just one last thing, guys. You're going to hear the same crap over and over again from me and like John Sy and everybody else. This is really all a very simple process. It's not rocket science. That's the reason we wrote this book. It's 10 or 12 very simple steps. Yes, there is more details within the steps, but you could literally pick up the phone, make 25 calls a day, and stumble your way into over $250,000 in the next 12 months. It's 100% doable. I will stand by that. Okay. That's it.
I want to start stumbling.
Start stumbling. I've been doing it for years. It's worked for me.
I know it has.
Page 47 in the book talks all about.
I'm ready to pass the baton. Okay. So start putting this into action so we can get some results. I know you guys are. I'm excited about it.
I'll be happy to take it once I hit those things. But
awesome.
Bottom line to you guys, I think it's working personally. You know, it's a lot further than I was 3 weeks ago.
Awesome, man. Just wait until that market actually picks up a little bit.
Thank you.
It'll be paying off for you. All right. Anything else, Jesse?
I'm good. You guys, yeah. If you have any questions, message us. We'll see you in the Facebook group. We're here to help. Whatever we can do to help.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate everybody being here. We'll talk to you Friday. Oh, Friday we're going to have a guest speaker, Eric Hamilton and his team. I promise you it's not going to be a big sales pitch. These guys really have their pulse on what's going on in the industry right now. Eric is phenomenal. He's going to give us some tips on. He's very aligned with KB Core. They run my KB Core for me, and he knows like what's going to be happening in the market or what he sees happening right now and moving forward. It's going to be very good information this Friday. All right. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Talk to you soon.
Be safe, everybody. Take care.